Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Women's World. Today is a very special edition because we're going to discuss a very important topic. I'll tell you the details right after a short break. Welcome back. Today we'll be talking about the disabilities here in Egypt and the government's efforts in order to solve the challenges facing people with disabilities. And also we will be talking about children with disabilities in particular with our guest today, Dr. Samia Aziz, Professor of Child Mental Health at Ain Shams University. A very important topic that attracted the attention of the government, and we'll be talking about that in details. But first we're going to watch a report about the government's efforts in order to solve all the challenges pertaining to people with disabilities. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As we have just seen through the report, the state under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah Sisi is exerting great efforts. We have seen numerous efforts in order to face the challenges pertaining to the people with disabilities. The center was a very important step. Also allocating the funds for that purpose was very important, and that is the main topic for us today. We're very much delighted and honored to have with us Professor Dr. Samia Aziz, Professor of Child Mental Health, Ain Shams University. Thank you very much, Doctor, for being with us today.
I am honored to be here.
We are honored to have you with us. Now, before we go into details, because the most affected segment of the disabled people are the children. Yes. We want to talk about children in details, but let's talk in general about the difficulties pertaining to people with disabilities and what types of disabilities.
There are a lot of types of disabilities, and if we see that generally all over the world, the prevalence of disability, each disability is 3% of the population. Then when we say that we have sensory disability like visual disabled and deaf-mute disabled, these are 6%, and we have intellectually disabled and then physically disabled, so they mount up to more than 12 to 15%. So this is really a huge percentage in the society.
This is worldwide?
Yes, this is worldwide. Provided that in the third world, it is a little bit higher.
Of course.
One of the studies that were done mounted up to 18% in Egypt, in certain districts.
Yes.
So it's a really a big challenge for the government. It's a big challenge for the people themselves and for the families.
For the families.
Yes.
This is one of the main problems, Dr. Samia, because for some families, particularly in remote areas, when they have children with disabilities, they tend to keep them in the house. They are overprotective. They don't want them to go out of the house because they fear that anything might happen to them.
They are vulnerable.
They are vulnerable. How can we raise awareness on all levels of the society, of the community where they live in, the families themselves too?
Well, to start with, they have to be seen, and they have to be seen in a humanitarian view. We have to see them as human beings, not disabled persons. They are persons first, then with disability. So there is a little bit change in the terminology. We say people or persons with disabilities, as was said now. So people, they are regular people. They have the same needs and the same rights like other people. So they have just something extra. They have some special needs. And by the way, when we say special needs, it's a little bit different from disabled people, because children or people with special needs, they can be gifted children. They can be.
Usually they are.
Yeah, they have special needs. Yes, and over genius children, they are children with special needs, and so on. So
yes.
Even the people with disabilities, they say that they prefer not challenging disability, as we try to soften the
tone,
label
yes.
a little bit, but they prefer now, even within the council, they said that no, we prefer being said people with disabilities,
Okay.
because we are.
Yes. Doctor, a short break and we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Still with our dear guest, Dr. Samia Aziz, Professor of Child Mental Health, and we're talking about people with disabilities and particularly children. Now, a very important issue, Dr. Samia, is inclusion.
Yes,
the inclusion of people with disabilities. What are the criteria for the inclusion, and how can we apply such criteria?
Well, first of all, we have to say that there are a lot of people who are included inside the schools without knowing and without being noticed. But some of them, the people who, for example, the Down syndrome or the autistic children and so on, or the visually disabled, the hearing impaired, they are not included. They have to be included with certain criteria. The teachers should have real professional training, how to deal with these children. Even all the school personnel, the administrators, the office people there, they should be really trained to how to deal with problems. There has to be a psychiatrist or psychologist, a social worker to help with them. And we have to make some raising awareness with all the parents, whether the parents of the disabled or the parents of the non-disabled, their peers. They have to understand that this is not something contagious. This is not something that their children are going to catch, or they are going to do the same thing, the same behaviors, or their mental functions are going to decrease.
Actually, families should raise their children on accepting the other,
diversity.
Not bullying them
Yes.
for their disabilities. On the other hand, being kind, being supportive, showing extra care, because this is very important.
Yes, it's very important, but we see that parents are, they tell their children, don't sit near them, go away from them, and so they tell them that they are nuts, they are not crazy, they can't see, they are crippled, whatever, according to the disability itself. And teachers don't intervene. This is a very important issue. Teachers have to intervene in this, but provided that they really understand what they are dealing with. So they have to be trained. And if I apply inclusion in schools, really apply inclusion in schools, I have to identify the disabilities and target it, for example, and take care that I can't put someone who is visually impaired in the same class with someone who has hard hearing. I can't do this because the techniques that I'm going to use for the hard hearing depend more on visual things, and the other way around.
Yes,
for the visually disabled, I have to use more auditory stimulations.
Yes.
So this can't be in the same class, for example.
So what can the government do in order to solve such challenges? What would be the role of the government here in this very important topic that you raised, Dr. Samia, and the role of the civil society as well?
Well, I see that the most important thing is training of the teachers. This is very important, because if I give the teachers the clues to work with, then everything is minimal after this. If they believe in what they are doing, well, they can make a tremendous change towards these children and their lives and their families and the other children, because if you visit Europe, for example, or the United States, you are going to see a lot of things that are made in the streets for the children, for people with disabilities.
True.
The people who made that, the engineers and the people who had these ideas, they were saying that we had classmates that suffered from so and so. So we were all of the time thinking how to solve it when we grow up. And so when they grew up, they did that. It's the same thing. If we start from the beginning, from the children, then they think about how to help their peers, and they know really their deficiencies, the problems that they face, and how can they solve it, because they lived with it. This is something completely different than saying anything theoretically, because they are excluded in different places. And we say, okay, children with visual disability need so and so. but I haven't really lived with it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Well, definitely, it's a very important topic that I hope we can further elaborate on it, but our time is up for now. So I'd like to thank you very much, Dr. Samia Sami Aziz, Professor of Child Mental Health at Ain Shams University. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Welcome. Thank you.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us in this edition of Women's World. I'm Hal Al-Hamalawi signing off for now.